Me versus me. Hey loves, it's your girl Sassy, back with another episode of Sassy Speaks. Welcome, and thank you again for rocking with your girl another week. So let's get into it. This episode, it's personal. Not the cute, filtered self-growth, the real uncomfortable conversations you have with yourself when you finally stop lying. Because at some point, you got to stop blaming people, timing, and circumstances and look in the mirror like, what am I doing? This week, we're getting honest about the habits, choices, and the patterns that needed to be checked. No sugar, no excuses. So let me go ahead and say this before we even get comfortable. Some of y'all don't need another podcast, another quote, or another new week, new me speech. You need to sit down with yourself and tell the truth. Because the way some of you keep saying, I don't know why this keeps happening to me, is a little suspicious. You know why. You just don't like the answer. And listen, I'm not coming at you like I got it all figured out. Because, honey, I had to check myself too. And I had to realize some of the situations I was in, I didn't just end up there. I entertained it, I allowed it, and I stayed longer than I should have. And that's the part nobody wants to talk about. We love to call everything toxic. But you don't want to admit when we're the ones ignoring the red flags, making excuses, going back like nothing happened. I mean, be honest. How many times have you already had the answer and still choose the situation anyway? Yeah. This episode, this is about those conversations, the ones you avoid, because they require you to stop pointing fingers and start pointing at yourself. Let's be real. Some of the problems in your life, they're you. Not all, but enough to have a conversation. And don't get uncomfortable now because I'm talking about myself too. I got the mirror right here looking at me. So you're not confused. You just don't like the answer. Knowing something is wrong but staying anyway. Ignoring gut feelings because the truth is inconvenient. And calling it confusion instead of what it really is, avoidance. Yeah? So let's talk about it. A lot of people aren't confused. They're just uncomfortable with what they already know. Because deep down, the answer has been sitting right in front of you this whole time. You saw it in the way they moved. You felt in how inconsistent things were. You noticed it when the effort started fading. But instead of trusting that, you started negotiating with it. Calling it confusion, calling it mixed signals, calling it, I don't know what's going on. Nah, you do. You just don't like what it means if you accept it. Because once you admit the truth, you don't get to stay the same. Now you have to decide something. Now you have to choose yourself. Now you have to walk away. And now you have to let go of what you were hoping it could be. And that's where people get stuck. Not in confusion, but in attachment. Because it's easier to stay in maybe than to face that's not it. But let's be real. You're not waiting on clarity. You're waiting on the version of them that was never consistent in the first place. And the longer you stay in that space, the more you start betraying your own instincts just to keep peace with something that is already off. So no. You're not confused. You're just trying to make the truth you don't like fit into a situation you don't want to leave. And that never ends well. You're not confused. You just don't like what you already know. You keep choosing what hurts you. Patterns in relationships, habits, decisions, fooling with people who don't show up, and being comfort in chaos. So let's be honest again. It's not always that life is doing something to you. Sometimes it's that you keep picking the same thing in a different packaging. Different face, same behavior. Different situation, same outcome. Different story, same lesson. And at some point, you have to look at that pattern and stop acting surprised. Because if it keeps happening, it's not random anymore. You're involved in it, and you keep saying, I don't know why this always happens to me. But you're still entertaining what you already know is not good for you. Still answering the calls. Still going back. Still giving chances you already used up in your spirit. And it's not even always about lack of awareness. It's comfort. Because chaos can start to feel familiar. Uncertainty can start to feel normal. And inconsistency can start to feel like something you just have to deal with. But let's call it what it is. You're not just being pulled into these situations. You're staying in them longer than you should. Long enough to get hurt. Long enough to explain it. Long enough to convince yourself it's not that bad. But deep down, you already feel when something's off. You already feel when you're overgiving, and you already feel when you're the only one trying. And yet you still choose it. Not because you don't know better, but because leaving it would require you to sit down in the unknown for a minute. And that part, that's what you've been avoiding. But here's the truth nobody likes hearing. You can't keep blaming what hurts you if you keep choosing it over and over again. At some point, it's not happening to you. You're participating in it. Oh, that one cut deep. You're not lazy, you're undisciplined. Waiting to feel motivated, starting and stopping everything, talking more than doing. So let's clear something up real quick. You're not lazy. You're just not consistent. Because lazy people don't care. And you care too much. And that's the problem. You've got goals, ideas, plans, visions, even guilt about not doing what you said you were going to do. That's not laziness. That's inconsistency. You keep waiting on motivation like it's going to show up and save the day. It's not. Motivation is cute, but it's unreliable. It shows up late, leaves early, and disappears when things get boring. That sounds like some people I know. Oh, goodness. And that's where the discipline comes in. Because discipline is what shows up when you don't feel like it. But instead, what you're doing is starting, stopping, restarting, overthinking, delaying, convincing yourself tomorrow will be better. And tomorrow keeps getting recycled into next week. So let's be real. You don't need a new plan. You don't need another reset. You don't need another fresh start Monday. You need to do what you already know to do, even when you don't feel like it. Because the truth is, you already have enough information. You already know what works for you. You already know what you're avoiding. You already know what you keep putting off. So it's not a knowledge problem, it's a discipline problem. And until you get honest about that, you're going to keep calling it, I'm just unmotivated, when really it's just inconsistency dressed up nicely. You don't want better. You want to look like you're doing better. And I know that one hurt too. You're holding on because you're scared. Fear of starting over. Settling because it's too familiar. Avoiding the unknown. Let's talk about that. A lot of people aren't actually living their life. They're performing it. Acting like they've got it together. Acting like they're healed. Acting like they've moved on. And acting like they're fine. But behind all of that, it's maintenance, not peace. And we all know. I know I say this every episode. We all know how I feel about peace. Because performance looks good, but it's exhausting. You're curating your life instead of actually experiencing it. Making sure it looks like growth instead of actually doing the uncomfortable work of growing. Posting the I'm evolving quotes while still repeating the same cycles in private. Smiling in public, spiraling in private. I know that wants to be real. And let's be real, social media makes it worse. Oh my gosh, because now it's not just about healing, it's about looking healed. It's not about moving on, it's about making sure people see you moved on. But real talk, healing doesn't need an audience, growth doesn't need an applause, and peace doesn't need to be posted. Wow. You don't need to prove you're okay. You just need to be okay. Because the more you perform, the further you get from yourself. And one day you'll wake up realizing you've been managing an image so long, you forgot how to just exist. So no, you don't need a better performance. You need your real life back. You're not stuck. You're just scared to let go of what's comfortable. Wow. I'm going to say that again. You're not stuck. You're just scared of letting go of what's comfortable. And I know nobody likes having these conversations with themselves. I sure didn't. But avoiding it, that's how you stay in the same place year after year, situation after situation. And at some point, growth isn't about what happened to you. It's about what you're willing to admit and what you're finally ready to change. So let's bring this all together. In my closing, everything comes back to this. You're not confused. You just don't like the answer. Because deep down, you already know what something is, but accepting it would mean changing your situation. And instead of doing that, you stay. You explain, you justify. Which leads into the next truth. You keep choosing what hurts you. Not always on accident, but sometimes on autopilot. Sometimes out of comfort. But either way, it's still a choice you're repeating. You know, they say you rather deal with the devil you know. But then you wonder why nothing changes. But it doesn't stop there. You're not lazy, you're undisciplined. You know what to do. You just don't always do it. You keep waiting for motivation instead of building consistency. And when life starts feeling out of alignment, you try to fix the outside. But internally, nothing changes. So then you start performing instead of living, looking healed instead of healing, looking okay instead of being okay, looking like growth instead of actually growing. And it all connects back to one thing: avoidance. Avoiding the truth, avoiding responsibility, avoiding discomfort, avoiding change. But here's the part nobody likes hearing: you can't heal what you keep performing. You can't grow while pretending. You can't change your life without ignoring your own patterns. At some point, you have to stop narrating your life like it's happening to you and start admitting where you're participating in it. Because once you do that, everything shifts. Not because life gets easier, but because you finally get honest. So say it with me, class: avoidance. And that's all I have to say about this situation. But trust me, I did not come to cut you up and not sew you back together again, because I love you and I'm doing this all in love. It's April, it's spring. We got to do some spring cleaning. And so this episode is just to rip off the Band-Aid, because we all need to take a step back and see what we're doing, see what we're not doing, because the world is crazy at this point. And I promise you, we have got to get our lives together. And everybody has something going on. Everybody has mess. Everybody has confusion. Everybody has just stuff that's just happening. Life is lifing. But we have to take a minute and look at ourselves and say, what can I do to make this situation a little bit better? What can I do not to be in this situation? Is it me? Yeah, it's you. It's you, boo boo. But I promise you, it is all in love. It is all in love. So, hit me up. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you got out of this episode. When you had this conversation with yourself, what did you come to? What conclusions did you figure out? Did it help? Are you mad? Are you sad? Is you cool? I want to know all the things. And also, if you have any topics you would like to explore, I think I might even start having some guests on the show. So let me know. We're still in the, figuring out stage, but I'm open to all. But you can contact me, email sassyspeakspod at gmail.com, Facebook, Sassy Speaks, IG, Sassyspeakspod. And don't be shy, holler at your girl. But until the next episode, again, I love you and thank you for your support. And I'll holler at y'all next week. Bye, loves.